I'm Kusha Karvandi, and you're listening to Exerscribe Radio, the source for biohacking your health to reach your full potential. I created Exerscribe to provide people with a roadmap to working out. With our new workout app, you can get a custom workout program that adapts your workouts to your body type, goals, sleep quality, stress levels, and personal preferences. With live chat support, our workout app has become so comprehensive some call it a personal trainer in your pocket. Our users are seeing over 90% success rates with their goals because we take the neural approach to fitness, meaning we integrate movements and exercises that recalibrate your brain and body to prime you for rapid strength gains and fat loss. Check out the Exerscribe workout app in the iTunes App Store today. In today's podcast, I interview Extreme Focus founder Dave Austin. Dave Austin helps a wide variety of clients ranging from celebrities, executives, and pro athletes to reach their peak performance with their mental game. Dave's mission is to inspire and educate their clients and others through the latest technologies utilizing proven mental performance principles that elevate not only their athletic performance, but also their ability to maintain better control in all areas of life and under all conditions. They train them how to have their minds work for them rather than against them and increase their level of focus to be more productive and efficient. Hey everyone, we're here on Exerscribe Radio with mental performance coach Dave Austin. Welcome, Dave.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Thanks, Gusha, for having me.
Absolutely. So just to get started, could you tell the audience a little bit about you and your background?
Well, what's a mental performance coach? It might be the first question. It's someone that, I've studied my whole life on how to get your brain to work for you rather than against you. I was a professional athlete. I was an athlete my whole life. And I realized that when different places that I moved to, I would respond differently. I was always reacting to my outside world rather than creating my outside world. So I really went into it deeply. I went on to play professional tennis and then, kept developing. I have a degree in psychology, but what you learn, when I played professional tennis, I traveled all over the world. And what you learn traveling and reading and that became much more than my degrees. So, I'm very pleased today to have a lot of outstanding clients. I've done the Los Angeles Dodgers. I've done the U.S. Olympic team. I've done so many different. I've had 4 MVP in Major League Baseball for their teams that I've had the privilege to work with. My own son this year just led Cleveland Gladiators to 19-2 in the arena football, which is the best results ever. So when you really learn that there's processes within your mind and practices you can do, just as in working out in the gym. If I'm going to get stronger, I'm going to get a daily routine that helps, you think of your brain as a muscle, a daily routine that helps you step into your true strength.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about Extreme Focus. How did that company come about?
Well, it was an evolution of everything I just talked about. When I decided to make my life work, to really go after and learn how can we get our minds to focus on the right areas, because we have over 60,000 thoughts a day, and it's so easy to be distracted. And so it just became my passion. And originally, when I first started the business, it was called Exceed Potential, so that you could always go beyond your potential. But as I been in the business, I can't even tell you exactly how it came to me that extreme focus was the right word, the right 2 words that could, your elevator speech. What do? Extreme focus. People know exactly in that moment what you do. There's no questions about it. And so I've developed practices and processes to help people get more focus in the right area. That's why some of the results that I've been blessed to be a part of, they seem like magic or oh my goodness, how can that be? Well, it can be. We all have that ability within us. It's just learning how to tap into it and then just directing your energy into the right focus.
What type of clients do you normally work with?
Well, it's across the board now. I mean, I've worked with every athlete and even Ironman, you name it, because it doesn't matter what you do. You need to engage and have a mental practice. I spoke at the this year's the San Diego Rowing Club, the annual banquet, and here's athletes and parents. And I asked, how many of you have a daily mental practice? Out of about 350 in the room, only 2 people raised their hands. It's amazing to me how most people don't even understand how, even, like in fitness training, if you develop a practice, you want to increase your strength, you want to increase your health. If you don't have a mental practice to go along with it, you're really missing out. So extreme focus is just, we've developed those practices to help you to get in the best shape of your life. And oh, I'm sorry, you're talking about clients too. I also do many business leaders, because business is no different than in sports. You need to engage and have a way of triggers for you. We all have what I call these, sometimes I call them pattern busters, meaning that we have our subconscious, our conditional habits come up, but especially when pressure hits. So we think we want this thing. Oh man, I want to have this. I want to be in the best health of my life. But then all of a sudden something triggers that doesn't support you in that. And you don't understand why there's a conflict. And it's basically because your subconscious is going to do whatever it's most familiar with. It's going to be whatever it's comfortable with. And if it's not comfortable in you winning in whatever you do, then there's going to be disharmony. So what I do is create programs that really work on the subconscious, so that when you say, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, you have a system in place that supports you. So, that works in business. It works in everyday life. It works in fitness. I mean, there isn't an area that your brain is not going to be engaged. I mean, when you can get your brain to work for you rather than against you, you're going to win at whatever you do.
Yeah, so that's an interesting concept, because a lot of what I preach with my clients and my training style is, this concept of a brain-based approach to training, and the fact that the brain is always looking for the most successful path. The brain always wants to win, and when the brain feels like it failed in a certain movement, that's when you see increased tightness, increased pain, and so forth. So you said something about like your subconscious mind always wanting to win. What is that all about? Why is that?
Well, first of all, I love what you do. And this is one of the reasons I really appreciate your approach. I haven't seen a lot of fitness trainers engage the brain like you're doing in the way you're exploring it. So one, I just want to take a moment and give you a big high five on that, because, gain is going to be done so much more. You can give them all the tools, everything, but if they don't have the right mindset, they're going to be working against them. I want to rephrase that a little bit on the subconscious. It's, so we are, we have something within us that seeks to win. I mean, that is in there. But one thing about the subconscious, though, which you have to learn how to get it to work for you, is that it's going to go with whatever it's most comfortable, whatever it knows best. So, when it gets information sent down to the subconscious, it doesn't know what's real or what isn't real. So if it's there to go with kind of protection and what it's most familiar with, it might not serve what you really actually want to do, say on your conscious level. So there's as I say, there's not a harmony within that goal. So the way that you get it to be that winning seeker is to keep feeding it things that shows that you can do this. You can do this, and whether it's in visualization or in just doing daily. Like for an example, I'll use an example. My own son, who said, "I am, the MVP of the Arena Football League." Now he was saying that before the league started, before he even had a starting job, but he was already planning into his subconscious that he could do that. So that makes that subconscious now be that seeker to win, because it wants to. It's gonna, like you say, it's seeking to win. But if it's not fed a daily dose of something that's going to support it, it's going to then default to whatever it's most comfortable with. So if it's seen you fail a few times, it's going to default to that, actually.
Yeah, that's very interesting. What percentage would you say the mental aspect is versus the action aspect? Because some people might argue that you can't just hope and wish. You actually have to take action and practice. But what portion of the pie is that mental aspect?
Wow, that's a great question because like you said, some people think, well, all I have to do is visualize and I don't have to do the work. That's wrong. Totally wrong. It is a combination. It is a blend of both. When you visualize and when you do the mental practices, you then what you're doing is increasing your opportunity to perform at your highest level. But without the action, without the physical part, you're not going to. It's like, if I try to do it just all physically, I'm not going to perform as well. If I try to do it all mentally, I'm not going to perform as well. It is a combination. They did a test once, which was really interesting, where they took a team and a basketball team, and they took a group that just shot free throws every day. Then they took a team that just visualized shooting the free throws every day, and then the third group physically shot free throws every day and visually shot free throws every day. And the interesting thing about the study is those that were physically doing it every day and those that were just visually doing it every day, they scored very similar. The group that did the actual physical practice and the mental practice were far beyond. I mean, their results were far better than the other two groups. So it takes both. You're kidding yourself if you think that well, now I can sit on the couch and do this all. It is, and here's the neat thing about it: when you add a physical or a mental practice, you get engaged more physically because you get more excited about it. The day that I said that Shane started saying, "I am the MVP of the Arena Football League," even though he's a hard worker, his practices even became stronger and more intense because he was already living into that which he was going for. I have a saying that is, champions are champions before they're champions. It means that you don't wait to become a champion before you go, oh, I'm a champion. You got to live as a champion. So what does that mean? You practice. You do all the things that a champion would do to win a championship. So by engaging your brain, your workout, it's not going to be that you're going to work less. You're going to work more, but you're probably going to have more fun doing it because you're going to see better results.
Exactly. I agree 100%. I noticed on your website you talk a lot about becoming a beast and this concept of beast mode on. What's that all about?
Well, about 8 years ago, I was blessed to meet a man named Roger Anthony. He's from Australia, and one of the most brilliant men I've ever come across. I mean, the guy's incredible. Unfortunately, we lost him this past April to cancer, but he developed what he called mental triggers, so that when you're in that moment of pressure, you could just use one word and it would trigger your action. And so he used animals, and we have with the Be a Beast program, and I'm so blessed that we did all this before we knew we were sick. We have videos that show these animals in the wild, but we use them to be the mental triggers. Most time when you go, let's say you're going to go learn something at a seminar, you go there, and even though you're taking notes, you're doing everything you can, you walk away and the national average would be that you walk away with about 12% retention. Retention meaning that you remember all those things that took place in those 3 days. With the mental trigger center that he's done with what we've done with the animals, it tests out at 93%. 93% retention, which is dramatically different than any other program on the planet. So what the animals do, they're fun to have, but they gives you a trigger right now. So when you're in the heat of battle, if you think LasPro, which is our falcon, and in the video, we show the falcon going over 200 miles an hour, hitting its target every single time, never missing it because it is absolutely laser focused on its target. So LasPro, so if you just have that moment, once you start learning that, and we have little processes to help, but once you start learning that, you become, when you get in that situation, you all of a sudden just LasPro. It's just a natural thing. So let's say you're working out and you're trying to get the extra reps or whatever. All of a sudden, you just think LasPro, and it just helps you go into that laser focus, which is LasPro. And there's 15 animals within the Be a Beast program. And it's funny because I just had a baseball player yesterday who pitches in the Red Sox organization that we did our game ready. I always set, what we're going to focus on. I always have just 3 things I want you to focus on. Everything else would be a distraction. And so he goes, I've been really studying the animals lately. And he says, etmo, which means staying in the moment. That's the hummingbird, etmo. He says, that's so important for me today. And then he went through a list of about 4 different animals. And he goes, so you know what I want to do? I just want to be a beast today. I want to bring the whole jungle to the mound. And last night, it was funny. I saw that he pitched a shutout. And I mean, he was stellar. I mean, stellar. He's someone who is having one of those amazing, that's incredible, how is he doing so well moments. And I texted him, said, man, you brought the whole jungle, you're a beast. And we just laugh about it because he feels that extra strength. He had every mental trigger in place, but he works it daily. So it becomes easy to go on the mound and just do, and bring the gifts that you already have in you out fully.
Definitely. What would you say the most common mental obstacles you see in people are?
I think that the most common would be doubt and fear, which is only normal. We all have it. As well as I teach this, I'd be a liar if I said I don't have fear sometimes. In fact, I think fear is a good thing because it helps you. I mean, if you when I say a good thing, it means if it used properly, instead of letting it take you out, bring you into a focus. An example, Laird Hamilton, who is a big wave surfer. I love what he says. Someone says, you don't have any fear. You have ice veins. He goes, no, I have fear. It's just as I paddle into the big wave, right as I'm about to take off, I shift my fear into commitment. So it's learning how to shift when you have nerves, when you have those pressures that hit you, you learn how to shift it into a force rather than a distraction. So I think that's the biggest thing, and we wander outside the moment. We'll go, well, what if? What if I don't do this? And that what if gives us hesitation. Hesitation doesn't make us perform at our top. We start thinking too much. The less you think, the quicker you do anything. You're faster. Roger Anthony already mentioned, he had a beautiful saying that said, get there fast by going slow. And it's interesting. When you learn how to slow down your brain and not have so many distractions, you get to anything much faster, but it seems slower. So I would say the number one thing is that what if, the doubt that hits, and knowing that it's okay when that happens because you're human. Just knowing, but you trigger it. We call it in the Beast Mode program, you bullshift your mind. You bullshift it into where you want to put that energy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that fear and doubt really slow people down, and especially in sports performance or even in business, I think quickness and speed are important. And John Wooden, the famous UCLA basketball coach, used to say, be quick but don't hurry, because he used to recognize that quickness was the greatest asset that any athlete could have.
Yeah. Well, the more you practice things, the more you don't have to think. For an example, again, I always like to do things that are fresh, that are happening right now. I went out to watch my other son. I have 4 boys, as you know, and I'm blessed to have them. And he plays fullback for University of San Diego. He's a freshman. And the other day I was talking to him, and he said, Dad, I'm looking at the film, and I look like a freshman. I go, well, you are a freshman. I mean, he's a big, strong guy, so physically, he doesn't look like one. He looks like he could start in any team right now. But he says, that bothers me. I look the part, but I'm not. He says, I'm thinking too much. It's causing me to hesitate. And luckily, his older brother, who plays professional football, reminds him and said, I looked like a freshman once too. And it's just because we're thinking. You're trying to learn what you're doing, and that thinking slows you down. So you have to also be willing sometimes to go through that process. Once you get through and it's the daily repetition, and all of a sudden it's no longer thinking, you do everything at a speeded up way of doing things, and that's how you become free and do it at such a high level.
That's great. No, that makes perfect sense. Where do you get a lot of your information? How do you stay on the cutting edge?
Oh man, I just have such a passion about it. I wake up every morning, how can I be more today? The moment that I think I have figured it all out, go ahead and bury me. I mean, that's at the point we should begin. That is the starting point. Someone asked me one time, who are my toughest clients? My toughest clients have always been first-round draft picks because they think they know it all. And then they hit the pros and, man, they don't know what to do. They haven't faced adversity. So what I do, there's a couple things I do. One, I read. And the more I read, the more I can just keep gathering in information. And a lot of times when I read, it's not, the author might really inspire me, but then it even takes me off into my own inspiration. It might trigger a whole new thought that's not even in the book, but it's created an inspiration in me. So I try to go down to, not every day, but I try to do it almost every day. So I go to the beach in the morning, and I live in Carlsbad, and I spend an hour to mentally just take the quiet time. I do something that's called the process. And the process is a way of kind of quieting your mind, all those other thoughts, all those negative feelings. And I allow myself to be inspired for something greater than me. I just tap into, it's all there for all of us. We just don't take the time to tap into the true intelligence that's available to all of us. Then I always have a writing pad. And most of the things that I write, if you see something and you say, gee, that's brilliant, that's because it's beyond me. My wife is a ghostwriter, and she's a brilliant best-selling author. And anytime I come back from my process and I share some things with her, she goes, oh my gosh, well, we know you had nothing to do with that. Meaning that that's the highest compliment she can give me. She knew that I got out of the way and I allowed that greater intelligence just to take over and let it go.
I like that. I really respect the fact that you're an eternal student like me. You're always seeking to learn more. And a good friend of mine has a saying. He said, it's what you learn after you know it all that counts.
Good. Amen. Amen. Well, I think that's why we like each other. We see that enthusiasm of living life fully. That to me, that's what gets me up. And the interesting thing is, as long as I've been doing this, and I've had a chance to coach some of the best athletes in the world and come into businesses and create change in their business, I learn as much as they all do. Every single time I'm on a phone call, every time I'm in a coaching session, I'm learning. I'm engaged. I'm engaging so I can advance more. It's like, when you read a good book and you really love this book, you go, gosh, this is a good book. You take a lot of notes out of that book. Go back to that same book 6 months later. And you go, oh my gosh, you'll find new truth in it. Not that, because there's not one word within that book that's changed, but you've changed. And so you're able to find new things within that book because of your advancement in your own life. The funny thing is, you're going to laugh at me on this one, but I wrote a book, it came out in 2000, and every so often I'll go back to that book. So the book I wrote, and I'll find new things in it, and I go, oh, wow, I didn't even understand it at the level I was giving it to, even though it was coming through my pen. I did not understand it at the level I understand it now. And I go, oh, never saw it that way before. Now, that's really amazing when you allow yourself you have to kind of humble yourself to allow yourself to gain that much from those kind of experiences.
Exactly. So what is it specifically about the mental aspect of coaching that you're most passionate about?
Well, I just know it's such a secret weapon that we have such an advantage. It's so funny is that I would really say 98% of the population know nothing about what I do. So anybody I work with has a total advantage. Any athlete, even the teams. I'll tell you, we're still old school. NFL football, even though I work with NFL players, the teams, or even Major League Baseball, I work with players. The teams don't get it. They have sports psychologists that I'm not trying to knock that profession. I coach a lot of sports psychologists. I'm not knocking it. There's some really good things, but it's so structured so wrong. It's not in advance. It's like medicine that, okay, you're sick, we'll take care of you. It's not in that proactive, how can we make our performance better today kind of approach. So what excites me is knowing how much better someone can be by learning how to have a daily practice. I've had now enough experiences with athletes that were, I mentioned 4 Major League Baseball players, MVPs, that were stuck in AAA, stuck in the minor leagues, and originally in their careers, not thinking they can go any further. They're about ready to throw in the towel, so to speak. And I fortunately get a chance to work with them. They start looking at things differently. And not only do they make it in the majors, but they've gone on to have remarkable careers. The best one I talked from, just from a money standpoint, I had a player that was in AA and making very little money. You don't make a lot of money in the minor leagues, but through the program, within 6 months, he was able to sign a $13.5 million contract.
Wow.
And became the MVP pitcher for the Texas Rangers that year. All the way, he got brought up from AA, and he was the runner-up for the Cy Young. Cy Young being, the honor given to the best pitcher in baseball.
Wow. That's incredible.
That excites me, because I know the impact it can have. I always say, when I was playing professional tennis, nowadays I go, God, I wish I had me when I was playing. And then you kind of look at me and you're like, well, aren't you? Yeah, but I didn't know this stuff back then. I could see how, I even proved it to myself. I figured if I could do it with others, I wanted to go out and see if I could do it for myself. So when I was 50, I decided to play in the 40 and over division in tennis, because I had been a world ranked player. But now that I knew how to use my mind, I realized I never allowed myself to go as far as I could have been. So I decided I wanted to be number one. I wanted to show myself that I could even do it with me. And I was probably the toughest client that I ever had. I fired myself 3 times. But at the end of the year, I walked off the tennis court number one in the age division, 10 years younger than me, because I'd learned how to use these practices. So I figured that, if I can do it for me, I definitely can do it for others. It's actually easier to do it for others than it does for yourself. But I try to live the principles. Again, going back to Roger Anthony, again, such a brilliant man. He says, when you just absolutely live what you teach, you become it, that your words aren't doing the teaching. It's your very existence that does the teaching. That's hard to live by. And Roger probably did it better than any man I'd ever met. But I strive for that every day, to be the living example, so that it's not just my words. There's a lot of coaches that you see now, young, that they jump out there, they know how to market a program, they're out there and they're just going, but they haven't had the background to understand the depth of all the elements of what goes on within our brain and how we work and all that. So that's why I'm excited about this opportunity, with you to do things, because you're already engaged the mental aspect. I've made a study of it. I've done it with so many pro athletes. Imagine bringing, this to the fitness world and the health world. I can't tell you, that really excites me.
Yeah, no, likewise. I think there's some great opportunities there. So, you know as well as I do that being a coach isn't easy. What would you say some of your greatest obstacles as a coach have been?
Gosh, because I'm human and I'm breathing, I get doubt. I have, oh my gosh, do I do this? I've had to sometimes really just be bold. I'm afraid to say, well, am I going to step on someone's, cross the line here? And I have found that when I've been brave enough to say, trust in yourself, trust. And do it from, what are you doing it from? Are you doing it for ego sake, or are you doing it because you love what you do and you'd love this player or this team to advance? And if I always can gauge it from that scale, is it from love or is it from ego? And if I take that moment just to evaluate it, I leave a lot of pain away, because if it's ego-driven, usually that's going to cost you. Usually it's going to be something like, why did I do that? And how did I let that get in the way? And why did I feel I had to do that? But if I can evaluate it and say, I'm doing this, even if I have to step out, I'm doing it because of love. I'm doing it because of passion and because of what I know, and I trust in it. You never lose on that one. Even in momentarily it looks like it's a loss, it always turns into a gain.
Exactly.
And so that's the biggest thing, I think, is just, knowing who you are, being, again, it's allowing yourself to be humble, but strong. Know who you are, know what you've done, and trust in it. And then, always have that in our beast mode program. We have what's called RESPA, which is crocodile. And this is just I'll give you really quick. It's R is to relax. From a relaxed state, you can then E, evaluate. Then S is to strategize. P is patience, and then A is the act, and you'll act with total commitment. So if you have a little RESPA for a moment, it can happen. RESPA can take a long time, or RESPA can happen that fast in a millisecond. So you take that moment just so you, because sometimes we'll react out of emotion, and then we find ourselves, ooh, this is not exactly where I want to be. But if you just take that moment to first relax, then you can evaluate, you'll always put yourself in a better position. That's why I say, in a relaxed state, I can then kind of notice what I'm noticing. Am I doing this because I feel threatened? Am I doing this because there's some fear factor? Am I doing this because my ego needs this? And from that quick evaluation, I can decide to just walk away from it if that's where it's coming from. I don't need to do it. And it's a great way not to put yourself into a situation that it's going to be a distraction rather than a help. But if I do that evaluation from a relaxed point, I can see that, you know what? Yeah, it's a little scary to step up right now and step in and say, this is what's needed to do. But I'm the one that has the experience on this particular one. And this is coming because I'm here to help. And I'm going to serve right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So what does your lifestyle look like then? What kind of things are you doing for yourself to take your mental performance to the next level?
Well, I do. I'm no different. I have to do the daily practices too. The fact that I've been traveling in August, I was on the road more than I was home. I mean, quite a bit more. So my practices were not as consistent as I like to have them. So you already heard me. I don't even like to use the word try, because try is no good. Try means you're going to get more of what you're asking for. Trying. So I'm excited to be home. Even though I did it on the road, I wasn't as consistent. I have a saying that there's nothing worse than an excuse than a good excuse. You should be able to do it wherever you are. But I find it challenging with the travel I've had lately. But what I do is I get up early, I go down to the beach, and I have this process. I first read, because otherwise I get too busy doing things. And I don't take off a lot of the book. I just read enough to really inspire me of the day. It keeps me active in that learning curve. And then the process I go through shuts down the outside world. And then I have my pad of paper, and I'm able to write and be inspired and grow and learn. Most of what I teach comes from that higher intelligence. So that's a daily practice, and I live it. And then fortunately, because I have clients, I'm giving, vizzes, which I'm known for probably. I'm called the viz guy, visualizations, or we call them game readies, because we set intentions and then we get ready. Through the visualization, just by the act of giving so many of those, because of the athletes I engage with, or even the business people I engage with, it's my lifeblood. I expand through that. I went through a period one time where I really learned that I started to take less and less private clients, because I'm too busy with all the bigger picture stuff. I don't need private clients. And what I found is I wasn't getting that daily step into it. And I realized that was a mistake. So I will never again go without having at least a certain amount of private clients, because I learn, I grow, and it puts me on the firing line every day. I've got someone, I just mentioned, I had a pitcher yesterday. Every time he goes on the mound yesterday, it's about today. It's not about what he did before. He's having this stellar season. I'm engaged in that. My own son, who went 19-2, the best record in the history of arena football. We're engaged every day. They ended up losing in the Arena Bowl last weekend, but we were prepared to win. And that's all you can do, is you can put yourself into position to win. So I'm constantly doing that. And I think that, along with my own practice, is what helps me stay in what I call the frequency that I want to live in. Most people live in their conditions. And living in your conditions means you're reacting to everything you're coming to you. When you create your conditions, then you're the fire that's creating it all. And it doesn't matter what's going on in life. When you're in that creative mode, every situation becomes an advantage rather than a disadvantage. Every obstacle or adversity shifts into opportunity. But it's a training, it's a learning. And some of my clients, I'll be honest with you, I'm amazed. My own sons do it better than I do, because they've lived it, from a young age. And they don't even go, we'll all have those periods of the doubt, or is this, whatever the negatives that we have that jump out at us. We'll have those moments, and I have all the tools to get out of that, but I find my sons get out of it quicker, just because they've got it. They've been doing it. They believe in it. They trust in it, and it's amazing to watch. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. What books would you recommend our audience read to enhance their mental performance?
Well, I don't, you would think I'd read, a lot of sports psychologist books. I've read a lot of those books, but more recently, in the recent years, when I say recently, I love going back and reading things. I read things that were written in the 1800s and 1900s. It's kind of crazy, but it's fun for me to find that all these truths were already being taught. I think I've discovered this, and I'm the one that, developed this, whatever it is that I have in my program, and I'll see, wow. Look at this. There's a book that was written in the early 1900s called The Invisible Power. The Invisible Power is the use of visualization. And this gal had gone to England, and there was a gentleman over in England, I can't think of his name right now, that she just studied under, that was using visualization to do amazing things. And so that she made her whole life work doing it. So to read someone and get her perspective on it from a whole different time zone is fascinating for me. Another book I absolutely love is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Now, Napoleon Hill, in 1935, he brought out Think and Grow Rich. And that has created more millionaires than any book ever written. Because what he did is he went in and studied the minds of all the successful people of the day. And then just shared their stories. So when you read that, you go, oh, okay. If they can do it, I can do it. You just follow the path, so to speak. So many, many, many millionaires have been created because of Think and Grow Rich. But he also wrote 2 years later, Outwitting the Devil, but felt it was too controversial to come out. His wife worked for a minister, and she's like, well, I don't know, a book with the devil in it or whatever. So it didn't come out until 2 years ago. And it's fascinating. And it just talks about the negative side. And basically what Napoleon Hill has done, he's got the devil cornered. And he's like, all right, you're going to answer these questions. And they're all questions that we would have. If we had the devil, or what he calls the devil, negative thought. How do you control people? How do you capture and you take advantage of people? And it's all laid out so perfectly. I was so inspired by it, and you might know this, I'm also involved in the music world, that a pop artist that is doing really well right now, I called her, she's a client, I said, listen, I said, your new single is in this book. Read this book. And she read it, we got together, we wrote it together, called Dance with the Devil. And it's a dance song, but it's really cool if you really listen to the words. It's talking about having the power to stay out of that negative energy.
That's great. So what would you say the future of health and fitness looks like? Where is everything headed? Well,
for me, since I'm so mentally, oriented, and I really feel this so often, through history, if you look at health and fitness, you get one thing that's good, then the next year something else. They're all fads. Oh, no, now this is good, this is right, and it goes back and forth, back. So I find for myself, if I, first of all, feel that I've got my mental side right, then whatever I do, I'm gonna do it better. I'm gonna be stronger. So if I can find a program that I believe on both fronts that looks at things and go, okay, man, I'm sorry, I'm going to say your program, of something that is engaging the brain, and yet it's physically proven to make me stronger. And then when you look at health, health is a real, as far as what you eat, one day you're eating this and it's saying, oh, that's the thing you're to eat. And next week you find out that's the exact opposite. So you just have to be careful. You have to be opened up. And follow those that you have trust in, that have some proof in what they're saying. And then I can always fall to moderation. Do things in moderation, so that, and your body will tell you. I mean, it really will speak to you. Again, when you get mentally in tune, you'll be able to feel your body will speak to you. But beyond that, so one thing that I know that you're doing right now is that you're learning that, and you're developing programs that individuals are different. We have different blood types. So maybe, a lot what's happening is maybe this blood type, and it's proven, this is what they should eat. Well, here's this blood type, and it's the exact opposite. See, a lot of people are doing so many general, well, do this, do that. And so you really have to be moderate in that. But when you're actually going to the level of this is your blood type, so these are the important things for you. I've seen this. I had a chance to work with Ted Cottrell, who was the defensive coordinator for the San Diego Chargers. Once he left the Chargers, he was overweight. His wife were overweight. They decided to make a commitment to better health so that they could live longer. And they went through so many different programs, and it was up, down, up, down, up, down. But all of a sudden I saw them and I noticed a change in them. I'm going, what's the difference? All of a sudden something's working for you. Well, they actually went to where they went to a doctor that took their blood type, and they found that it's funny, but each of them had to eat differently to attain what they wanted to. And they could eat a lot. It was just eating the right foods. So it's funny. They have to every night. They eat different things because one person is, the wife has a certain blood type, the husband has a different type, and that's the first thing for them that has ever worked. So all that does for me is really open my eyes, going, that's very interesting, because we are individuals. We are created, with our own individual. Why are there so many, different blood types? Why are there different things? So you start becoming aware that, wow, I should look and see if there's a program that fits my personal needs.
Exactly. It's about that individualization. I agree. I think that's where everything's headed. What about technology? Do you think technology is helping or hurting us improve our performance?
Boy, that's a double-edged sword, because if you think of, let's say technology, standpoint of cell phones and everything online. There's so many conveniences. I can't, we couldn't be doing this, what we're doing right now, looking at each other, being in a different place if it wasn't for technology. But has it given us more time, or has it created more havoc in our life? Most of the time, it has created more havoc, and we have less time. We don't have as much as we used to have because we're always engaged. And a lot of personal relationships within family is lost because we have cell phones. I'm guilty. I'm looking at the cell phone. I'm just hooked into it now all the time. So it's taken me out of it, and I have to remember, okay, this is a no cell phone zone for our family right now. Hard for me to be disciplined on that because I always like to see what's happening with players. I like updates, but I'm taking myself out of my family. So then even when you look at it for fitness and health, there's some advantages with some new fitness equipment but you know what? Fitness is fitness. If there's some really cool things, and I know you're working with some really cool things. Those can be advantages if you understand, it's like having the right direction. I've seen, let's say in tennis, I see players go out there, practice all the time, practice way more than me, but they're practicing the wrong things. They don't have any direction to go, I want to just stop sometimes if I see something. Go, just stop doing that. Don't reinforce that kind of backhand anymore, because even though you're practicing all the time, it's limiting in what you can do. So having, and we've seen a lot of this, as you know, in your own life in recent years. When I say recent years, past 10 years or so, where people are coming to people they trust to learn for them to work out the best. What is the best to eat? It's a full package now. And now, and for me, you got to have the mental side too. If you don't have the mental side covered, you can have all the best tools in the world, all here for you. But you'll go back to remember that subconscious of what your habits are used to. So they'll find ways to not have you get to the ultimate health. It will find ways because it's not used to having you in that perfect form. And so it will, you'll go, oh gosh, why has this happened to me? So I think it's where we're headed is a combination of the mental, the physical, and the way that you eat and do it. It's a full package deal. I had the Dodgers pitching coach once told me, or he gave me a really wonderful testimonial. He said the best results, our greatest advancements for the future are going to come from our minds. meaning that when we learn how to train our minds to work right, we open up to do all kinds of neat things, all kinds of great goodness. And if you look at Olympic sports, it's pretty amazing that every single time, every 4 years, there's always a new world record broken. I mean, that's mind-boggling, isn't it? You know, when was the last time they had Olympics that didn't have a world record broken? Yeah, these are the best athletes in the world, best trained athletes in the world. How can it keep being broken? Because we keep advancing.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, it's interesting because I was reading the other day and it was talking about how the mind is kind of split between your task-oriented mind and then you have your more creative mind. And it was saying it's kind of like a seesaw. When you're multitasking or when you're hooked on your Facebook or Instagram on your phone, your mind, when it's multitasking, it has to shut off that creative mind. So I feel like technology from that aspect is really taking away and pervading from what people could be doing or what they could be creating and building.
Perfect. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Why do I go to the beach and have all quietness? Because I want to tap into the creative mind. You know, I will work with that other mind into the technology side, but if I'm going to perform, I can't perform. You know, people say, well, multitasking is great. Multitasking is great if you like good. If you want to be good at things, multitask. If you want to be great at things, you know, you can do a lot of different things, but focus on that at that moment. And I couldn't agree with you more as far as the creative mind. You've got to shut down everything to tap into the creative mind.
Exactly.
And that's how it all happens. You know, I've been blessed to also write songs, you know, and I wrote Songwriting for Dummies. When in that mode, something might spark me. Let's say I'm watching TV or see something on the Facebook, it'll spark something. And if I know it's all of a sudden a song coming, I got to shut everything down and go to that quiet place of creativity and then let it come. If I stayed in the multitasking of looking at things, that song would never be written or that thought would never be expanded on because I've done that. I've made the mistake of just staying there and then it just kind of peters out. It goes someplace else. And then maybe it's years later, I see that exact thought, that exact thing. Someone's just done it and they've done it brilliantly. Like, oh, wait a minute, that was meant for me. See, we all can tap in, and you know, the energy and the wisdom is all there. Einstein was the one that said, "It's not me, guys. I just know how to tap into it." So we all can tap into it. So that's one of the things I love to do is help people tap into it. And that creative side, that creative genius, we all have it. It's not, you know, we all think, well, that's somebody else that has it. No, they have just learned how to tap into it. And you do have to shut down everything else. That's why this process in the morning is so important to me.
Exactly. So what's one simple thing you would recommend our listeners start with today to improve their mental game?
Well, I would just start with your frame of mind. I mean, this, you say simple. This is about as simple as you can get. Get up in the morning before you do anything. Some people make the mistake of the moment they get up, they look at emails and look at that. Before you even awake, what you're doing is you're letting the outside world control you. Don't look at anything. Don't get engaged in anything until you have your own personal time. Start your day with your own personal time, whatever that looks like. I don't care if it's 15 minutes or an hour. And if you have to get up a half hour early to create that, do it, because you'll be so much more satisfied in life. You'll be so much more that creator. But if you get up right in the morning and start just checking into things, it's, you know, because you have a phone next to your bed, most people. Oh, and then it's hard not to go to your email. You're not even engaged yet. You're already got maybe possibly worry set in before you even have created your day. So create your day first. And I start off with, you know, with just thank you. You know, you're up, you're awake. Thank you for this day. Gratitude is an amazing power. That's a shift of everything, because what you feed will grow. What you starve will die. So if I feed all the things I'm grateful for, I'm going to get more of that. If I just focus on, oh my God, I got bills coming up Friday, and oh, how am I going to do it? I'm lost in that energy, and that energy can't solve anything. And then every night before you go to bed, I mean, this is so simple, but that which is simple to do is simple not to do. And that is, think about one thing that happened good for you in the day. Have a little diary of that, and just write it down so that you're more aware of the good and you're creating the energy that you want to live in. Because problems can't be solved in the energy of the problem. Solutions are above the problem. So you have to constantly put yourself into the frequency of where everything's possible. And it's just a discipline. But little things like this helps. At the end of sometimes if I get bogged down, I have a practice of I'll write 10 things I'm grateful for right in that moment. Shifts my energy. See, when you talk about simple things, that's a simple thing that you can do and have an amazing effect on your life. All of a sudden I'll get uptight. I go, and then, okay, breathe. 10 things I'm grateful for. By the time you're done with the 10th, you go, you're strong. All that stuff all of a sudden has dissipated. All that stuff had so much power. Might have been hard to do that because in that moment you really don't think of being grateful. Mm-hmm. You're upset. But you do that, it changes. And every day being able to write one positive thing that happened to you in the day, it shifts your mindset. It shifts you. It gets you going where you want to go. If I'm going to watch TV, I have a remote control and I have a frequency. And if I turn it to the frequency of CNN news, mm-hmm. constantly negative news, that's what CNN, that's a certain frequency. So I have a choice to be on that frequency, or I can shift the frequency to the Discovery Channel. We can do the same things in our life. We can either shift into the Discovery Channel or stay in constantly negative news. Because it's there for us. Every day there's enough bad news going on that if we want to stay in that, we can. But there's no solutions in that.
Exactly.
That makes sense?
Perfect sense. Yeah, I really like that. Simple tip. I think gratitude is highly overlooked.
Oh, way overlooked.
Exactly. So thank you again, Dave. You gave our listeners some really, really good tools and resources today. Where can they learn more about you?
Well, you can go to extremefocus.com. That's our webpage. You can go to our Facebook, which is Extreme Focus. Hey, befriend me personally, Dave Austin, because then, I'm not filled up. And I share every day. Not every day. I'll take that back. But I share as much as I can. We have the Extreme Focus fan page or whatever to go to that we try to keep updated as much as we can with whatever is going on. Our Extreme Focus homepage, we share all our programs on that. You can find out. Plus, I'm just beginning now. I'm going to start what I call, because I said everything's energy, I'm going to start the weekly current. On every Monday, I'm going to put up a blog about, something that I've been inspired by doing the process. And I decided because I have all these writings that I have. We had a fire recently in Carlsbad. Our house almost got burnt down. And we were in Yosemite, and I went like, uh-oh. What that I would have taken out of the house if I was home? It would have been all the writings and all that. So I thought, I don't want to just have them sitting here. I want to start sharing all these writings on a weekly basis to help people get into the current, the frequency that they know that they can start being the creators rather than the reactors.
I like it.
That's extremefocus.com.
That's good. Your beast mode is on right now. I like it.
Oh, we also have getbeabeast.com too. That's something that people can tap into our group coaching called Beast Mode On. That's what it's called. And we have a 30-day challenge that it's so much fun. We have Super Bowl winners. We have Olympic gold medalists in it. We have business leaders. We have entrepreneurs. We have pop stars. And the group is so cool. It's just it's getting into that energy that lifts all of us.
Exactly. You're a product of your environment. So I think sounds like a great group to join.
Thank you, man. Appreciate being with you.
Thanks again. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Bye. If you haven't already, get your custom workout program by downloading the Exerscribe app from the iTunes App Store today.